Well, hello everyone. It's Crystal, Andrus Morissette. I'm here. We're live on Facebook. Tonight I am excited to have a conversation with you about silencing your inner critic. For those of you who don't know me, and you might think, what does she know about silencing her inner critic? I have to tell you that I am the best-selling author of 5 books. I did 3 with Hay House Publishing. Hello, I see you guys there. Yay, I'm getting some hearts and thumbs up. I did 1 self-published book called Simply Woman, and that actually Simply Woman became Simply Woman Accredited Trainer, became Simply Woman Accredited Yoga, which I'm so excited. We're going to be launching Sway Yoga very soon. It's yoga created by women, for women. It's absolutely beautiful. You're going to completely love it. Make sure my shirt's pulled up. And then the latest book I did is called The Emotional Edge, and I did that book with Random House, and it was featured on Oprah.com 3 times, 3 months in a row, the New York Post, the Daily Mail. So I do know what I'm talking about. I'm the founder of the Swot Institute. It's an international empowerment coach certification exclusively for women. Hi, Jane. Hi, Anto. It's an international empowerment coach certification for women. We're in 30 countries, so we really are women empowering women. It's a global coalition for women, and I'm really excited about, really being the next era of the women's movement. And so in 2 days' time, I'm going to begin our next live course. It's a course that I teach 2-3 times a year on Wednesday evenings. It's called the 12-week Emotional Edge Telecourse, and I'm going to be starting in 2 weeks' time. And it's a prerequisite course to becoming a master or a personal empowerment certified coach. So tonight I want to give you a little sneak peek at just one of the processes that I teach, just one tiny intervention that I teach that we will be covering during the 12 weeks together. Hi Kim, hi Bev, hi Dawn. I'm just going to dive into our work tonight though. Maybe if I get a chance, maybe you can ask questions on there, and hopefully we can have a chance to dialogue. So tonight, I want to give you a really simple, it's like wildly effective process to help you silence your inner critic. Now, inner critic is not an archetype that I use in the Emotional Edge, but I love teaching in archetypes. And if you don't know what an archetype is, archetypes are just sort of that quick call to action. It's almost like it's been around forever. It's the way the brain remembers things. So if I were to say the bad boy, you just can conjure up all kinds of images, right? Or the seductress. Or if I were to show you the sign of an apple with the little, right? We know it's Mac. We know it's that it's Mac. It's the apple line. That's an archetype. So if I were to say an angel, a devil, so we know what an inner critic is. We know it's that voice in our head that we all have that talks to us, that thinks that we're not enough, that belittles us, that demeans us, and we all have the voice. The voice could be talking to you while you're getting dressed in the morning. The voice could be talking to you while you're driving to work. So there's you, and then there's a voice that somehow you talk to that nobody likes to let on. I'm completely comfortable with my voices. I actually have a lot of different voices. And I actually use archetypes in a fun way. So for example, in the Emotional Edge, I broke it down into 3 main archetypes. So we all have the parent archetype, right? There's a part of you, for women I call it your mother energy, right? There's a part of you that is so selfless, that is so giving, that is so... And it's funny because when I use the term mother energy, women just get it. They're like, oh, I totally know what that is, without even really recognizing that it's an emotional age. Then we all have daughter energy. Daughter energy is in all of us. It's the part of us that is more selfish. It's more demanding. It's coy. That's the part of us that knows there's a good life out there, and somehow we want it, but we don't know how to get it because she's still young. She's our daughter energy. And then, of course, we all have the adult archetype inside of us. The part of us, I call it your woman energy. And sometimes women will say, I don't know, but you do. There is a part of you, inside of you, who embodies the noblest aspects of your selflessness and the noblest aspects of your selfishness. And she's this balanced part of you that's the self. It's not too selfish, it's not too selfless, it's the self, the fully embodied self, where you just know how to maintain that right space for you. And we have to practice. We have to get good at it. We have to learn how to totally sort of integrate our mother energy, heal our mother energy and our daughter energy so that we can show up like a woman. You know, one of the best books, I'm going to do a quick read. Do I have it here? Oh, I have so many books around me. Called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And I love this quote. I just want to really just read you a quick little line from The Untethered Soul. He says, there's nothing more important to true growth than realizing you're not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. You're not the voice in your mind. You're the one who hears the voice talking and another part of you talking back. He goes on to say that true personal growth is about transcending the part of you that's not okay, that needs protection. True personal growth is transcending the part of you that's not okay and needs protection. So imagine, I'm still staying with my emotional edge for a minute. Imagine you got this mother energy who's so giving. She gives to the point that she's like dying. She's so self-abnegating. Then you got this other side of you in this triangle. That's your daughter energy. That's just so gripping and scared and forcing and needing. And to imagine that you could transcend both of these parts of you and to transcend into your woman energy. And he says this is done by constantly remembering that you are the one on the inside that notices the voices talking. That is the way out. The one inside who is aware that you're always talking to yourself about yourself. But that part of you is silent, and that is the doorway to the depths of your being. This is a lot of what I teach in the Emotional Edge. It's really powerful work. So I think of that sort of the silent witness that observes, takes it all in, loves, has no judgment, has complete compassion. She's like this fully embodied, transcended woman. I think of her, that's where my woman energy resides. And you have the same woman energy inside of you. And when you embody that part of you, the child and the parent, they sort of integrate. And they transcend into a new, more empowered, always was there inside of you, but you really access your greatness. So that's a big part of what I teach in the Emotional Edge. So we're not using the terms tonight, mother energy, daughter energy, woman energy. We're using the term inner critic. Let's just go with that, because so many of us have this inner critic, right? We have this part of us who is critical. So could she be your daughter energy? Could she be your mother energy? In my world, she's probably my mother energy. My mother energy is, I think of my mother energy, my inner critic, like she's kind of like, and this isn't to say anything bad about any nuns, because I'm not even Catholic, but I think of her as sort of this, I used to see her in my mind as sort of this mean old nun. And she was just so worried we weren't getting into heaven. Like she was like, your hair's too blonde, your top's too low cut. She's critical. She's a perfectionist. She's a Puritan. These are all archetypes in the Emotional Edge. The Puritan, the perfectionist, the worrywart. These are all parts of your mother energy. And mother energy is just really worried that you're not enough. You're just not enough. And she just wants you to be enough because she wants you to have a good life. So instead of even focusing right now, is that my mother energy or is it my daughter energy? Don't worry about that right now, because that's deeper work that we'll get into. But I want you to think of it this way. I want you to imagine that you have, let's just go with 2 children. Okay, there's you. There's you, fabulous you. And then you have 2 children. And one of your kids, like just go with this. Imagine this. Imagine we're going to actually see ourselves as sort of aspects of ourselves that we're going to integrate and heal. Because we're actually going to silence your inner critic by loving her. Loving her. Imagine. I keep hearing, haven't we all for like years and years and years heard about the ego so bad? That old ego. That ego's bad, and the shadow and the ego. And I teach all about the ego and shadow and how to integrate the ego and shadow into the greatness of who you are and the wholeness of who you are. But I want you to just to see it like you have a couple kids. Okay, so you have one daughter. She's wonderful. She's so amazing. She's happy. She's not critical. She's confident, she's joyful, she does really well at school, she has lots of friends, everybody loves her. So you got this one kid, she's just so easy to love. And then I want you to imagine that you have this other kid. Man, she's so insecure, She never feels good enough. She's so hard on herself. She's always worried that she isn't enough. She's never content. She's just so critical of everybody, but mostly of herself. Now I want you to imagine that you decide, well, you know what? I love the one kid. I love my one daughter. She's so easy to love. She's lovely and she's wonderful and she's easy to love. So I'm going to let her have dinner with me tonight. She gets to go to school tomorrow. But the other one that is not easy to love, I'm going to bury her. I'm going to actually lock her in the basement. Now, I live in a 180-year-old house, you know, with those old cellar, scary basements. I don't think it's scary, but my kids think it's scary. I'm going to lock her in the basement. I'm going to lock her in the basement. I'm locking it. I'm going to get some pit bulls to guard the door because would you ever do that? Like, you would never do that to one of your children. You would never say, there's a part of me, was one kid I love, so I'm going to let her up, and there's another part of me I hate, so I'm going to bury her. But that's exactly what we do with ourselves. We bury, we disown the parts of us that we've been taught to believe are negative, like an inner critic. So what if your inner critic, though, is like a part of you? And this idea of like eliminating her, killing her, like I hear people say, like, you got to destroy the ego. And I'm like, that's a part of you. Like, I can't even imagine. Isn't my inner critic the part of me that needs the most love? Isn't my inner critic the child who actually needs the most love? Don't I need to listen to her? Don't I need to let her up out of the basement and have a conversation with her? Literally, imagine that you could get your journal, okay? You get your journal out, and here's how I would do it. If I were actually coaching someone, I would say, I'd first get them just to relax, close their eyes. Maybe you can do this right now. I'd just say, close your eyes, take a few nice deep breaths. I want you to realize that you are who you really are. So I would first do a meditation, and I don't want to take too long on Facebook tonight, but I'd first do a meditation of really connecting you with your heart, with your love. If you'd never been wounded, if you'd never been betrayed, if you'd never been hurt, if your parents just knew you were fabulous, gorgeous, talented, awesome, all those things that Marianne Williamson says about what we're most afraid of is our greatness. What if you just knew you were just so loved and lovable? Well, that's who you really are. And then wounds happen, things happen. We are mortified by certain parts of our lives, ways that we acted once. So we take the inner critic and we bury her. We're mortified by her. So she's somewhere in your body. She's hidden somewhere inside your body. Maybe she's your aching back. Maybe she's your bloated tummy. Maybe she's the pain in the pit of your stomach. So if you could actually close your eyes and just take some deep breaths and imagine that you could travel, like just travel through your body and find the place inside of you that feels tight, wound up, hurt. The place inside of you that feels uneasy, critical, worried. Imagine you could just travel into that place. And I imagine that you could just find that place, and instead of seeing it as a hurting place that you need to take painkillers, that you need to destroy, that you actually imagine this is one of your buried archetypes, because it is. Because it is. That's what pain in the body is. Pain in the body is always there to show you that there is a part of you that you're disowning, that you're not listening to, that needs love, that needs attention. So I actually find my critic, like I might see her as like my little old nun, and she's like, you're that, and at first I used to think, well, maybe I could just tell my nun to go away, just go away, we don't need you. And then I realized I can't make that part of me go away because she's part of me. So ask yourself, how old is your inner critic? Is she an old, scared lady that's worried that you're not getting into heaven? Is she a teenage girl that was bullied at school, who never felt pretty enough, or who never felt popular enough, who never felt... It's that part of you that's worried that but really she isn't enough. That people are going to discover that you're not enough. And that's all she is. She's just this worried, critical part of you. How old is she? What does she look like? Maybe you can even give her a name. Like, there's you, and then there's the critical inner critic. Like, what if we could give her a name like she's Chrissy? And Chrissy is just so worried that people won't like me, that people are going to write mean things about me on this Facebook, because they will, because there will be some. You got to learn, that's part of the inner critic. You got to get to know her. So the first thing that I would say is you got to own that part of you. And so I would say, I got to not see her anymore as the enemy, because if you fight yourself, you'll always be at odds with yourself. So you have to get to know these parts of you, whether she's an inner critic, whether she's a perfectionist, whether she's an addict, whether she's a wallflower, whether she's a narcissist, whether she's a warrior, whether she's the charmer. There's all these parts of us, and we bury parts of us. So for a lot of us, the inner critic is buried deep. We're ashamed of her. I want you to get to know her. I want you to ask her what she's so worried about. What is she so worried about? But let her talk to the real you. Let her talk to your woman energy. Let her write everything. She might be like, where have you been? Like, I've been running the show. Where have you been? I'm worried. I'm stressed out. I'm afraid. I don't think we're enough. We're taking on new adventures. I don't feel ready. Where are you? And the real you, in your journal, can get a pen out and begin to write back to her. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I love you. You're more than enough. What are you afraid of? What do you need to teach me? Because there's lessons in every part of us. It's when something gets out of balance, when the inner critic takes over. So what if you could just see her and actually even ask yourself, like, why am I so embarrassed of you? Why am I so afraid of you? Why am I so afraid of this inner critic? What are you here to teach me? Where am I neglecting myself? Where am I hurting myself? What is your purpose? There is a purpose to every part of our humanity. Let her talk to you. You know, what do I need? What do you need, inner critic? So that you can relax and allow me, the real me, to take care of things. You know, one of the very best ways that we can make peace with ourselves is to love ourselves. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The mother energy, find out what she needs. Your daughter energy, what does she need? What is she afraid of? And to integrate and heal them back into the wholeness of who you are. You know, I often say, whether it's any part of me, you know, I used to lash myself. In this last 6 months, I have just released 30 pounds. And it's amazing because I actually write about my chubby bubby. She's one of my archetypes in the emotional edge, and how my archetype, I was like so embarrassed of her. Like, she would take over and she'd run the show, and until I got to know her and realized she was fierce protection. My chubby bubby protected me. She didn't want me to be too sexy. She didn't want my children to ever feel insecure. Now they're in their 20s, so it's okay. I'm allowed to be a woman too. These were all stories that I told myself. And your inner critic is also telling you a story. And that story might not be true. It probably isn't. You are okay. You have everything you need. You've been given everything you need to be your best self. Why would God bring you to this place to leave you now? Have that talk with her. Assure her. Love her. Love yourself. All of you. So one of the things I'll do is I just look in the mirror. First of all, I own her. Like, I am critical. I am critical. I am a mean bitch. I am a critical mean bitch. It sounds so counterintuitive to positive affirmations, but you see, this is a disowned part of you. And rather than seeing her as the enemy, you start to see her as your friend. Oh my God, I can be like that. I've been critical. I can be critical. Why am I so ashamed of that part of me? Maybe my critical part of me helps me. There is lessons. Tell your inner critic that you love her, that you forgive her. Say it out loud over and over and over. Like, I literally will look in the mirror and be like, I love you, Crystal. I love you. I love you. I forgive you for being so afraid. I forgive you for being so insecure. I forgive you for being so critical. I'm sorry that you've had to feel so critical of us, of me. I'm so sorry that you've had to be so critical of me. But I've got this now. And I left you at times, and I failed you at times, and I dropped the ball at times. But I got this now. The woman. Me. And you have it too. It's a story that you've been telling yourself that you don't have what it takes to be you. And I promise you do. And, you know, one of the most powerful things that I do with the 12-week telecourse that's coming up Wednesday night is that I help you to reclaim every wounded, buried story and pain and heartache from the past, so that you don't have to have shame and guilt and blame and fear and all of this stuff racing around inside of you, making your body sick, making your mind sick, making your, the way you show up in the world in a way that's not the real you if you were healed and whole, confident in yourself. So I would love to invite you. I'm not going to be here long tonight. I'm getting ready to wrap it up. But I would love for you to join me on the 12-week telecourse. You can do the first 4 weeks of the 12-week telecourse for $49 Canadian, $40 American. If at the end of the 4 weeks you realize, holy moly, this is life-changing, and I promise you it is, life-changing. I have women, Mary Elizabeth, who did the last telecourse, 70 years old. She just had a birthday last week, 70 years old. She said, Crystal, I've been in therapy for 50 years. And I feel like my therapist would just always get really angry at me because they would think that I didn't want to change. I wanted to change. I didn't know how. Nobody ever gave me the how. In one telecourse, she's done 2 telecourses. She is now becoming a master empowerment coach at 70, stepping into her power. It's not that therapy isn't brilliant and beautiful and important and it's got its place. What I teach is such a simple process to learning how to love all the pieces of you. Your chubby bubby and your addict. Your rescuer and your victim. Because every part of you matters and every part of you is what makes you you. And when you disown these parts of you, these disowned parts take on a life of their own. And every so often they bust out of the basement. They do something really crazy in your life that you're like, who was that? I'm so embarrassed. And you have to stuff her back down in the basement again. And I'm suggesting, why don't we invite every part of you up to the dining room table? Let's have a great big family dinner and get to know you. Get to know your little girl. Get to know your 10-year-old. Get to know your teenager. Get to know the rebellious part of you. Get to know the most charming, sexiest part of you that for a lot of women, we buried her too. Get to know every single part of you so that you start to embody the fullness, the greatness, the wholeness of who you are. And I promise you, it's done with love. Being mean to yourself will never work. If fighting ourselves worked, we would have won the fight on terrorism and the fight on drugs and the fight on... Fighting doesn't work. Loving yourself will. And it's profound, and it's easy, and it's powerful. And maybe you just need someone to show you how to do it. I would love to be that person for you. So why don't you check out the 12-week telecourse. It's www.swotinstitute.com/course. /12 weeks. And from there, we're going to do some major healing. It's a private forum. I'm there every day. I would love to be able to support you, to work with you, and to help you heal your inner critic and every other part of you. So I'm going to go for now. And hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday. I will be on Facebook tonight, just checking in with some of the messages. If you need more information, send me an email. And I'd love to see you on Wednesday. Bye for now, everyone. Time to love your inner critic. Get to know her. Have a dialogue with her. She's your friend. I promise you. She wants to be your friend. She's not your enemy. Bye for now, everyone. I love you. Bye. See all the hearts. Bye, Dawn. Hey, Dawn. Sarah, Kim. Love you guys. And I'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye. Finish. Finish.